The hearing loss journey is different for everybody. Facing up to hearing loss can be very difficult. Before you decided to face your hearing loss, you may have blamed others for not speaking up or mumbling. You may have stopped attending worship services. You maybe stopped going to the movies. No parties for you. No bridge club. Can't hear. You may get into arguments because you're not hearing properly and there's a lot of misunderstandings. People may be getting very impatient with you. Repeating. You may have made some costly mistakes when you didn't hear what you needed to hear. Untreated hearing loss can cause isolation and depression. Facing hearing loss was very difficult for me. I was in denial. When I was dating this one guy, and we were watching TV, and he said, "Isn't that TV a little bit loud?" No, I could hear it just fine. I thought he was the one that was having the problem. Really? On the job, I wrote a telephone message down wrong. Got somebody really upset. I lost my job. On another job, I needed to tell my supervisor that I had hearing loss because most of my work was on the phone. And most of my conversations were, I was talking to third world countries, so you know that means accents. So I called a meeting, we sat down. It took me 30 minutes through my tears to say, I have a hearing loss. It's very, 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 very distressing. It was very difficult to talk about. I felt very desperate. Then I saw a tiny little notice about a hearing loss support group in a community calendar newspaper. It took me 4 months to get to that meeting. I kept seeing that notice every month. I finally went. It was my lowest point. And I really felt hopeless. Once I got there, I felt a little bit strange. If this is a first time for a hearing loss support group, you might feel a little strange. I get that. But I saw hearing aids everywhere. Everybody had hearing aids. And people were talking about their hearing loss. Some people were joking about something they misunderstood. And so I started to relax a little bit because I figured, okay, we have something in common here. I no longer felt helpless, and I began to think, I think I can face what I need to do now, especially with the help of others and benefiting from their experience. So that was me. That's my story. And it turned me around. Now I was coming out of denial, and I could actually do something.
Relate to that one.
Hearing aids. Boy, can they be annoying. They can fit poorly, they screech, they can be too loud, and it's just one more thing to deal with in a day. But in the hands of the right professional and the right kind of testing and the right hearing aids can be life-changing. It's like going out of the dark and into the light. Today, that's what I'm going to be talking to you about the process of purchasing hearing aids. The goal is to maximize positive outcome so that you want to avoid putting your hearing aids in a drawer and saying, "Ah." So here we go. The first thing is you need to find a hearing aid provider. The best thing to do is to ask your family, ask your friends, and definitely talk to people in this room about their experiences, and especially if they're happy, you may want to consider seeing that person. You can go online, you can check Yelp. Everybody know what Yelp is? It's a rating service for all kinds of businesses. There's a website called Hearing Tracker. Hearing Tracker. It reviews hearing aids. It reviews hearing aid providers. And it's up to you and I to fill that database. So, and it's just getting started, but hearingtracker.com is a good place to start. You may want to review ads you see in the paper. What are they offering? And don't go for one of those 2-for-1 deals. Okay. So once you've identified somebody that you want to see, and by the way, you do have a choice of making an appointment with an audiologist or a hearing aid dispenser. So when you make that phone call, you want to ask, am I seeing an audiologist or am I seeing a hearing aid dispenser? So very briefly, an audiologist is usually have a master's degree or a doctorate in audiology, lots of schooling, and they are able to assess, diagnose, if I can read my writing here, it's kind of in the dark, and counsel and do rehabilitation. There is a variety of tests they can do that are generally not done by hearing aid dispensers. There's some exceptions. Hearing aid dispensers have a high school diploma. They take a course of study and they pass a test and they're licensed. They do pure tone testing just to fit your hearing aids. They do not diagnose. They do not look for, they cannot look for conditions, blockages. There's a lot of conditions that might be causing your hearing loss. They're not qualified to do that. The other thing is there a charge for the hearing test? You'll always get no charge at a hearing aid dispenser's office because they're not allowed to charge for hearing tests. They don't do that kind of testing. They don't do a complete assessment. Do they offer QuickSyn? So this is something I want you to write down because that's not on your checklist. QuickSyn. And that means speech and noise. Do they do a speech in noise test? Now, I had somebody tell me that in an audiology conference, all the audiologists who were there for education were asked to put their head down and ask a question and raise their hand if it applies to them. So they said, how many people follow best practice? How many people do a QuickSyn? 20%. 20% of audiologists do not follow best practices according to the American Academy of Audiology. That doesn't mean you can't have one. So when you make that appointment, please ask them, do do they do a quick SIN?
State by seat.
Testing your ability to hear speech in noise is extremely important to identify what style or what type of hearing loss you need. Quick SIN, speech and noise. Boy, why is it that way? On your first visit, I hope when you go into the office you feel comfortable. Do they offer more than one brand of hearing aid? Do they offer a variety? Are the hearing aids proprietary? So what that means is, does the hearing aid require special software that only that person or that company can use? So here's some examples. Some of Costco's aids are proprietary, some, not all. Beltone, Miracle Ear, all proprietary. High Health Innovations, proprietary. Audibel, proprietary. And why that's important to you is because if you're not doing well and you've passed your trial period and you want to go somewhere else, you sort of can't. You're stuck with that provider. In the case of Costco, you could go to another Costco. In the case of Beltone, you could go to another Beltone dealer. That type of situation. So I don't recommend proprietary hearing aids. We had Paul Sanchez here September, October. He was from the State Department of Consumer Affairs, specifically in the Speech Pathology, Audiology, and Hearing Aid Dispensers Board. And I sit in on those meetings when they're in Southern California. And they're quite concerned about proprietary hearing aids because they're not consumer friendly. So please be aware of that. Okay. Do they understand your needs and where you need help? So basically, if they're doing an assessment, a complete assessment, they're getting there. Okay. Let's talk about tests and results. Okay. Otoscopic inspection for earwax and other possible blockages. No matter who you see, they should have an otoscope that looks in your ear. This year, or 2017, I met an unrealistic, an unbelievable amount of people who went to get a hearing aid only to find out they had their ear was severely impacted with wax. And that will affect your hearing. So if that's the case, you want to see a medical doctor about having your earwax removed. And then have your hearing test. Did you get a complete auditory assessment? So an auditory assessment is basically the speech and noise test, a needs assessment. So a needs assessment is like based on your lifestyle. Do you live alone? Do you live with somebody? Do you go out a lot? Are you in the public? Do you have a job? Your needs would change depending on your lifestyle. So it's important to have a needs assessment where your test results explain to you. And this is the time to ask, would I benefit from hearing aids? Not everybody would necessarily. Your options. So what are your options? So if you've had your needs assessment, did you talk about telephone options? Did you talk about TV listing? Did you talk about public accommodations? Public accommodations, this is like a public accommodation. And let's talk about hearing aid options and considerations. So getting into the good stuff. And by the way, for everyone who stays here till the end, I have a special magazine for you. $7.50 value, no charge. And we'll pass them out as you leave. And hopefully you'll consider putting a donation in our big fat donation jar. Okay? All right. So, what are the considerations? About the style, what is best for you and your hearing loss. So, especially going at this for the first time, you want the littlest, the tiniest. You don't want anybody to see it. You're concerned about cosmetics, but if you have a profound loss, that may not, those itty bitty ones may not work for you. So, but if you are concerned, have a cosmetic concern, you definitely need to share that with your hearing health care provider, and find the best one for your hearing loss. Volume. Doesn't have a volume control. So many hearing aids are automatic. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for a lot of reasons. I'm the kind of person, I want to adjust my own volume. So discuss volume control. Is it automatic or not? T-coil feature. Insist on it. It will actually increase the use of your hearing aids. You can use it in the hearing loop like you are here now, and Laguna Woods Village is going to get more of them, and out in the public, they'll be getting more of them. So, and it really does not add to the cost. So ask your audiologist to select one that's good for your hearing loss and has a t-coil. Make sure, you have to ask. Ease of operation. Can you put it on and take it off easily? For some people that might be very difficult, especially the itty bitty ones, trying to get it in just right. So, replacing batteries. Are you able to place the battery in open the little battery case, put the battery in and close it? There's lots of tricks to doing that, lots of help. So your hearing aid provider should be able to help you through that. But there's rechargeability. Not all, but more and more hearing aids now are rechargeable. Isn't that wonderful? You just take them off at the end of the day and you stick them in the charger, wait for the light to go on and they're charging, and pick them up in the morning. Nothing to open and close. And so that sounds great. So that might be a consideration, especially if you can't get the batteries door open and very well. And of course your budget. Really important. It's your budget. You can spend $1,500 for a hearing aid. You can spend $3,000 for a hearing aid. You can spend $4,000. You can buy accessories. I mean, it adds up. So based on your lifestyle, your needs, you have to figure out what your budget is. Okay. Purchasing the hearing aid, okay. So, all hearing aids, by law, have a 45-day trial period. Some may offer you more, but 45 is the minimum, state of California. And within that time period, if you're not happy, you can return them and receive a refund. Don't wait to go on the 45th day or the 46th day. Don't do that. Between the time that you pick them up and that 45-day period, you really need to work with your hearing aid provider for any tweaks you might need to get the adjustment just right. If you've been a person who's had a hearing loss for a long time, it will be very likely that you need to have a series of adjustments, not too loud, allowing you to adapt to the sound of the hearing aid, so it won't be too annoying, so that you can adapt to it. So there will be, and there should be no charge, it's part of the purchase. So go back as many times as you need to and don't be shy. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to bother. Yeah, bother them. That's what you need to do. And if you need me to support you to do that, I will do that. Okay. Ask, when you're in there and you're looking at hearing aids, ask for, to try them in the office. Say, do you have hearing, if you think that's a good hearing aid for me, can I try them right here in the office? Has anybody ever tried hearing aids in the office? Very good. So you see, it is done. It is done. So ask for that. Don't go in there like sheep. Okay. You will get a purchase agreement. I do suggest that you read it before you sign it. Maybe circle the trial period and write down the last date you can return it, just to highlight it in your mind, just in case. And this is the time to ask all kinds of questions. Okay, so now your audiologist has selected the hearing aid, and now you're going to pick them up, and it's time for the fitting. So what you see here is a little device that goes over your ear, and it's a little microphone that goes into your ear first, and then they put the ear mold in there. And it's called real ear measurement. It is mentioned on the back side of your checklist. And this is one of those insist on things. It verifies the hearing aid meets your prescription requirements. It verifies that the hearing aid is not too loud. It verifies all of the features, directional microphones and the telecoil. And that's very important for your satisfaction. We want the best outcome, the best outcome. So with the QuickSyn, the speech and noise test, and the real ear, you maximize your potential for success. Okay, information, instruction and information. Understand the hearing aid features and programs. Unquestionably, this is the time when they're being fitted, you need to understand all the features. Now, it may not be appropriate to go through each and every feature. It might be a little overwhelming for you. Have a checklist of all the features and make sure that in your trial period, you've had an opportunity to address each and every one. I know a lot of people, they have a telecoil, but they don't program it the first visit. It may be the second or the third visit. But there should be a little checklist, make your own, and make sure that every feature you have in your new hearing aid is tested. And you understand that practice inserting and removing the hearing aid. That sounds really silly, but can you actually do it? Are you putting it in right? I know when I put on my hearing aid over here, I sort of have to twist it in to get it in so it's not squealing and so it's a nice tight fit. So depending on what kind of ear mold you have, device you have, can you put it in successfully? Practice a few times in the office. If you can't, that's not the hearing aid for you. Care and cleaning. You should learn care and cleaning. A hearing aid that is properly maintained will last a lot longer. Comfort and feedback. Are they comfortable? Some people, right off the bat, they say it's not comfortable. If it's not terrible, see if you can't go a couple of days and sort of get used to it. It is kind of different to finally, have something in your ear. But if at any time it becomes uncomfortable, that's a situation that has to be dealt with. And feedback. So feedback is like squealing, and that really pertains to the fit. Sometimes if the ear mold is not properly sized, it will allow for some squealing. So that has to be redone. Accessory training. So there are many hearing aid brands that have a variety of accessories that are available. So they have streamers, they have TV devices so you can plug in a device to your TV and then use Bluetooth to listen to your TV through your hearing aids. There are devices that will work better with the phone. So there is a whole array, and every hearing aid brand has its own set of accessories. So part of your needs assessment, the audiologist will identify for you what the best accessories might be for you based on your lifestyle. And definitely don't leave without warranty information. So how long are they warranted for? And sometimes you can get by a policy that extends the warranty and that warranty sometimes includes loss. So if you lose one. I know my father once lost one, and we were really lucky. They replaced it at no charge. It was in that warranty period. Okay, so next, counseling and follow-up. So was a wearing plan prescribed for you? So was it suggested that you only wear them 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, and then take a rest? So find out if a wearing schedule would be appropriate for you. Okay, so we talked about adjusting amplification. Expect that you will have to go in and have tweaks during your trial period, and even after your trial period. You know, it took me a long time to get used to my cochlear implant. A lot of tweaks, a lot of adjustments, because as you start to hear better, then you want a little bit more. Then you want a little bit more clarity, maybe a little bit louder. It's not always about volume. Sometimes it is for me, but your experience will vary. And accessory training. So you need help with accessory training. Environmental issues, yes. Talk about environmental issues. Meaning, for example, when I leave my manor, I can hear the freeway traffic really loud. That's background noise. It's not so bad, you know, in the morning, because I'm not necessarily trying to converse with somebody, but background noise is a big issue. And so see if your audiologist can make adaptations to avoid the background noise. Listening and communication strategies. Yeah, I want to mention LACE, L-A-C-E, is listening and communication enhancement exercises. So it's kind of a program that is, Anne mentions this, like exercises for your ears. Especially if you've had untreated hearing loss for a while, it can be very beneficial. It's a computerized program, and it's a series of exercises. You listen and answer the questions, and either you get them right or not, and it keeps score. And you'll find that if you do them religiously, that by the time you get to the end of the program, your scores are better. So that's sort of like oral rehabilitation. And
done on your cell phone, correct? It's done on the cell phone? The program is for the cell phone?
Computer.
For computer?
Computer, yeah, computer. And what kind of support can you expect? So, you know, you need to ask, well, how long are we connected, you know, to take care of these hearing aid needs? And it really should be for as long as you need it. But that's a question you may want to ask. Okay, so this is the end of this segment. One of our mottos, and you'll find it on my website, is educated consumers hear better. So has anybody learned anything today? Okay, good. So you've got some tools, information. Don't go in like sheep. What kind of tests are you going to ask for? Somebody want to answer? There's 2 tests really important. I'm hearing whispers.
Real ear.
Quicksand, yes. What's the other one?
Real ear measurement, yeah.
Real ear. That's really the name of the test. It's real ear verification. It's on your checklist. And do look at that checklist, because a lot of what I've talked about is on there. Okay. So, any questions about the process to buying hearing aids? Did I answer everything so perfectly? Can I have an assistant with wireless mics? I'm going to ask to use this. Thank you, Ann. If anybody has a question, use the mic, because people that are using the telecoil can't hear unless we use the microphone.
I'm a newbie, so I'm ignorant, so I'll ask an ignorant question, and that is, in the hearing aid dispensary world, in terms of cost, is it normally quoted on a pair of hearing aids, or do they sometimes quote individual hearing aids?
You know, I worked for the Hearing Loss Association of America for almost 10 years. And they actually wrote a paper on the value of getting 2 aids. So they usually come in pairs. And the only time I think you wouldn't get them by the pair is if you have budgetary concerns.
Or unilateral.
Or unilateral hearing loss.
Okay. Or you just have, some people are completely dead in one ear and they have a little bit of hearing in the other, they need a hearing aid. That, obviously you can buy a single. You can buy a single hearing aid, yes, always. But that's generally not best practices. Any other questions? Elaine?
Does each manufacturer have their own iPhone app, or can you just get any app that's available on the market on the App Store?
There are certain brands that have used the iPhone app as a remote control to adjust volume, telecoil, that type of thing. So if that's something that you're interested in, that is a conversation you need to have with your hearing aid provider.
Is there a table for that?
A table for that?
So you can look at all the manufacturers at once.
There are different manufacturers, and they each have their own app. Right.
So how do you,
Yeah, some of them are proprietary.
how do you compare?
Okay.
How do you compare?
He wants to know, how do you compare the apps and the hearing aids? That is what you are going to your professional for.
No. How about do it online?
That was not the question?
No, he wants to do it online. There's too much information to know to be able to do that. You need to have an educated conversation with the professional, and they can help you.
What is the longevity of a quality and well taken care of pair of hearing aids? How long do they last?
Well, the better you take care of them, the longer they're going to last.
Well, I know
And there are things you can do to take care of your hearing aids to make sure they dry out every night and don't let wax accumulate on the mold. And moisture is the biggest enemy. So most people can get by 5 years, barring any accidents. Maybe they could even go 7 years. It's all individual wearing. And I wear mine all day, every day, and so I probably need to have mine replaced sooner than somebody that, puts them on only when they go out, which I don't recommend that. I recommend you wear them all the time. Yes, Ann?
On an average, hearing aids used to average 3 to 5 years. The technology keeps advancing, so it's not usually that the hearing aids go bad. It's that you want something that can do a better job and has more features. But it's not that the hearing aids themselves are no longer appropriate, but that instead of having the iPhone 4, now you want the iPhone 8, right? That kind of thing.
Elaine?
Tony, are you going to have this presentation available off your website?
Okay, so thank you, Elaine, for bringing that up. I have started videotaping these meetings, and I put them on YouTube. So you'll be able to watch it again. Or if you ever miss a meeting that you wish you could see, you'll be able to do that. So you go to YouTube and you type in Hearing Well Club and get to my channel, subscribe to the channel, so that anytime there's a new video, you'll be notified. So I've been going on TV6 a couple of times now, and I'll be going every month to talk about, briefly, to talk with Ken on this day about the next meeting. So I put those videos up on the channel too. So, Alex, I think Alex has been waiting here.
How do you usually deal with people who have accents or women who have high voices, especially on the phone? I generally have to say, I'm sorry, I can't understand you, I have to hang up. But what's the best way to deal with that?
I can tell you what I do. I say, whoa, I have a hearing loss, and I'm not understanding you. And what would work for me is if you could speak a little slower. A lot of times if they speak slower, they will enunciate. And that's helpful. That's very helpful. And one time I called the IRS, and the guy's accent was so bad, and he couldn't slow down. I said, I'm sorry, could you please transfer me to somebody else?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Or get a caption call phone.
They're responsible.
Sometimes the accents are so bad, even the hearing people can't understand it. So they really shouldn't put people with that kind of an accent on the phone, but let's face it, they do. Okay.
Some of the people who call doing solicitations and trying to sell them something.
You're off air.
Oh, he said even people who are doing solicitations are hard to hear.
So if you get somebody who's wants to sell you something and you're not interested, I don't know, keep a whistle by your phone and blow it really hard. And then hang up. And I'll bet you your phone number goes out of the database. So you got to put the whistle right by the phone. Okay. Hi, Stanley.
Is there a regulatory agency for hearing aids like there is for the doctor's medical board, to which you can complain if you've got problems with your hearing aid supplier?
Oh, absolutely. There's the Speech, Pathology, Audiology, and Hearing Aid Dispensers Board. It's part of the Department of Consumer Affairs. And if you need some help with that, I can provide you with the information you need if you need to make a complaint. Too bad you weren't here to see Paul Sanchez, who's the CEO of the of that regulatory agency. Okay. And yes, before you say something, his presentation is on YouTube. He was here in October, so he's on that whole presentation is on the web.
Hi, this is my first time. I'm amazed at how many of us are struggling to hear. Are there any of you that are going to be shopping or need to buy the hearing aid that have not already purchased them? Because I could recommend this person right here. I had no idea she was going to be here. She's my wonderful audiologist, and her name is Anne. And I love her, and she will not take my excuses. So if you've got a bunch of excuses why you can't hear, she will tell you about the carrot and the parsley and make you hear.
Thank you, Joyce.
Okay, I thought I saw a couple more. Right over
Just so
here.
you know, when she said she'll tell you about the carrot and the parsley, those are the sentences that you should be hearing if your hearing aid provider is doing real ear measurement. If they're doing real ear measurement, like Tony said, and they're putting the microphone in your ear, you hear repetitive sentences, and they are about carrots and parsley. That's what she's referring to. Who is?
Right here.
I've been wearing hearing aids now for like 30 years. And I found out sometimes when I have to replace them, it's not needing to replace them. It's that the audiologist has to go to readjust them. I found some won't do it. They say, oh, they're no good anymore. But I have one she tests me, make sure it's coordinated with my hearing aids. And she's done this, and she says, there's times when they can't do any more with the hearing aids. You do need to purchase new ones.
Correct. And that's exactly what the real ear measurement does, is it confirms. So you oftentimes, I will say probably 70% of people who come into the office complaining that their hearing aids are not good just need to be reset. Anybody else?
Alex.
I have a lot of problems with the phone, and I'm wondering if there's any way I got that phone that was free, but I don't have internet, and so I wasn't working. Is there any way to hear clearer on the phone, or is there another form of phone I could get?
Do you have
Or
that? It goes around your neck?
Okay, so Alex, you haven't been coming to meetings, so this, and for other people here, California Telephone Access is offering classes for cell phones and iPhone, and they just started, well, it'll be the first one January the 30th. Android classes. Do you have an iPhone or an Android? Have an iPhone? Okay. So this is a class specifically for seniors with hearing loss. Go through all the basic settings. Who in the room has taken an iPhone class? Okay. So would you be willing just to share what you learned? Just generally? No? Oh, no. June, you took it, didn't you? No. Anybody want to share? How about Brian? Okay, our cameraman.
I'll tell you, right down.
So let's get, can we get a microphone to Brian? Okay, we'll come right back to you. I won't forget you, I promise.
There you go.
Thank you.
So what did you learn, Brian?
Talking other than 2, 3. So why not just be quiet?
Why don't you just leave and write it down?
What was helpful?
Write it down.
There were so many tips shared. I was somewhat technologically challenged, so I learned how to use the phone just by trial and error. But when I took that class, it showed so many faster ways of getting to where I needed to get and tips that really would help you if you have any kind of hearing loss whatsoever. There are so many different things that your phone can do.
So this class has a minimum or a maximum of 6 students, and there's 1 instructor for every 2 people. So it's really very, very hands-on. And I also want you to know that there are services available for either iPhone
Please go that way.
or Android for captioning, not through caption call. And unfortunately, we should have a meeting about that sometime, but there is a service you can use to have your closed captions.
I have a phone in my garage.
I'm talking about a cell phone, smartphone. Yeah, so you can have captioned smartphone. You can have captions on your smartphone. Yeah, you have a smartphone, yeah.
I can't do
How do I do
So come to the hearing, watch the news, watch the notices, and find out when we're going to be having instruction on that. We're definitely ready. And by the way, I want to remind you that to use this green form, you can pick one up in the table there, or to communicate with me what you're interested in learning. I'm very well likely do a class in the PC club, especially when they get the loop in there, and I'll do one on smartphones and captioning. So indicate that what you're interested in, so I will contact you when that's scheduled.
Okay, Laguna Woods has got an enormous senior community in need of hearing aid help. Is there anywhere a qualitative comparison of suppliers which are really good and rated?
You know, that's like what is a good doctor. The best information you can get is talking to other people and what worked for them. So we have a lot of people in this room, and everybody who's got hearing aids has been to a hearing aids provider. So you've got family and friends. That was part of my presentation in the beginning. How do you find one? And who's to say who's good or who's not? GRF is not going to have a list of people. They may show you a list of licensed individuals, but that's not to say they're any good. So you need to find out who is knowledgeable, talented, patient, and dedicated to taking care of you, and is not happy until you're happy. That's what you want to find.
There's a lot of them that rip up this community. That's why there's so many hearing aid suppliers here. You know that.
Yeah.
So it would be advisable to have a qualitative comparison.
So Anne Mundell Noel is here. Somebody else has already been singing her praises. She is the audiology advisor for this club. She dedicates a lot of time. She answers questions for me so I can answer for you.
The short answer is you need to go and experience different offices. I'm sure everybody here has done that. And experience, just because you walk into an office doesn't mean you have to buy from them, but go in and look at the difference. You are correct. There is a big difference. There's a whole gamut, but Tony is not allowed to promote just certain people. That's why the meeting is about telling you information, talking to people, what is their experience, so that you don't have to go to every single office. But you do need to understand what you're getting for your dollar. And that's why she was trying to tell you the difference between an audiologist and a hearing aid dispenser. An audiologist, myself, I have 6 years of college education in hearing science, in addition to being a hearing aid dispenser. So I come from a different medical background than a hearing aid dispenser who is fitting the hearing aid. It's not to say that a dispenser cannot fit a good hearing aid. Many dispensers can. You just have to understand what works for you. And just because you go to an audiologist doesn't mean you're going to be fit the best either. because some large medical groups will run you through. So you have to experience. So I'm sorry that you have to kind of look, but talk to people in the area.
I have Tony's contact information, and where is yours?
In the back.
When you go to have hearing aids installed, is it automatic that they size your ear to take a mold of your ear to find out what size the hearing aid should be?
No, absolutely, everything should be customized.
Because I had a pair of hearing aids and my right ear keeps falling out. And when I went to complain about it, they said I had to have a mold made of that ear in order to put the proper ear. And that would cost me $40. Why didn't they do it at the beginning when they installed the hearing aid?
That you would take up with your provider. That one you have to take up with the person.
It's 2 years now. It's too late.
Anybody else? Questions? We have Lily over there.
Maybe you need to explain what a mold is, and then they have all these new ones that are soft and can be put in your ears, which perhaps that gentleman first had one that fell out. But a lot of people like those if they happen to fit, because they're very, very comfortable when they fit.
Want to answer that, Ann? So I'm aware that there are some ear molds that come small, medium, and large. And then there's ear molds that they actually pour hot wax in my ear, not the kind that hurt, and they take a mold and then they send my mold out and it comes back. I've always worn those kind of hearing aids, so I've never been able to do the small, medium, large kind. I've had a profound hearing loss. So I didn't answer your question.
No, because these are the little...
There's rubber tips, and then there are custom molds. And each ear shape would dictate, and your hearing loss would dictate what the tubing or the final piece in your ear would be.
But they're made from material, like when you go somewhere to an MRI and they put something in your ear, it's a toe, so that expands in your ear, and sometimes they can be very comfortable. They come in all sizes, not just small, medium, and large.
Ocular eyeglasses are purchased off the wall in different gradations, 1, 2, 3, and 4 diameters. Well, in Great Britain, you can buy your hearing aids off the shelf at a very good price. But here again, they're limited.
Okay.
So that's coming. That's
Well,
here in the United States.
So
too.
what's coming, and he's bringing up over-the-counter hearing aids, if I can just make a statement. Over-the-counter hearing aids are like peeper glasses. They're only going to be allowed for mild hearing losses. Anybody who is probably in this room has a moderate or more severe hearing loss. Over-the-counter hearing aids are not made for more significant hearing losses, because you need a professional to really fit them to you properly. If hearing aids could be bought over the counter and they really didn't need to be measured well, then they wouldn't be sitting in drawers. The reason that most hearing aids don't get worn properly or consistently is because they're not properly adjusted and fit and counseled for you. Getting a hearing aid, and this is, I'll say 2 sentences. Getting a hearing aid is like getting a knee replacement. You get a knee replacement, you know how to walk. Why do you go to a physical therapist? Because they know what your body needs to slowly rehabilitate itself to get the maximum use. As an audiologist, I'm an ear physical therapist. I help you adjust and get used to the function of the hearing aid and retrain your brain on how to hear. But the bottom line is, it's the hearing aid that's doing the work. It's the brain that's doing the work. The hearing aid is only giving you that which you have lost. And it's up to the brain to process the sound. So my job is to give you the cleanest, clearest signal to process for your hearing loss so that your brain can maximize its performance. So just like a knee replacement, every one of you will get a knee replacement. You're going to all do different. Some of you will go back running, some of you will only walk. Well, what's the difference? The doctor did the surgery. It's your body. It's the way that your body handles it and adjusts. So that's why everybody's expectations have to be confronted initially with your hearing care provider so that they're realistic. Tony has a very significant hearing loss. She could never pick up a hearing aid off the iPhone and go and sit in a restaurant and think she's going to do fine. It's not going to happen. So my job is to counsel her correctly so that her expectations are realistic. But we know that Tony is active and going around and doing amazing things because she's learned how to compensate and use accessories to facilitate her for her hearing loss. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what you need, though. We think that we have to find the right hearing aid. It's not. The hearing aid is made to bring back the sound that your ear has naturally lost, to give the brain as complete of a signal as possible so that the brain can process. The brain does the filtering in the background noise. It's not the hearing aid. The hearing aid is trying to separate the speech from the background noise so that the brain has the cleanest, clearest signal to process. But it's your brain. That's why we keep saying, do it early, do it sooner. The sooner you help your hearing loss, the better you're going to be overall, because your body knows what it needs. Okay, so sorry to get on that.
Is it possible that the body will recover from a hearing loss? And the reason I ask that question, when I take mine off at night, it seems like my hearing has improved somewhat, and it's better than it was.
So he asked, is it possible that you do better? Two things I'm going to say to that. One is there is a residual effect, right? You take the hearing aid off, the brain has been stimulated for a short period of time. You might feel, oh, I'm still hearing, kind of like a runner's high. After you exercise, you feel like, oh, I still feel pretty good, right? It can also go the other way. Some people take off their hearing aids and say, oh, my hearing's gotten worse. I'm dependent on my hearing aids because now I can't hear and I used to be able to hear. And my answer to that is, it's just your brain reminding you what you're missing. Nothing has changed physiologically, but the brain knows now how much harder it has to work.
I would like to add one thing. There is a condition called sudden hearing loss. And if you wake up, have an accident, and you just have a drop in hearing very suddenly, get to a doctor, even go to an emergency room. Even go to an emergency room, definitely within a day. Sudden hearing loss like that, there is a treatment. There are injections that they do. What's the name of the
steroids?
Steroids. Sometimes they work. And boy, if you're one of those and it works, you're really lucky. So sudden hearing loss, if you ever get that, see a doctor right away. Okay. Dwayne, down here, in the blue shirt, the sweater.
I just need to ask a question. In my inner ear have the moisture, like it sweating inside the ear. Is there possibility to keep it dry in the inner ear? Maybe we have to get new air conditioning inside? I'm kidding.
Okay, give Ann the microphone so that she can answer that.
So if your ear sweats, is that what you're saying? So two things. You could be having an allergic reaction to the mold. So you may need a different material. If people get itching in their ears, if it's just wet, you might need some venting. There's some things you can do to get air in there. The third thing would be, just like sweaty feet, take it off, wipe it out, and put it back in. It really depends, yeah. It's an individual thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
What I'd like to do at this point is to tell you that our next meeting is going to, in February, is going to be a group of cochlear implant recipients. So it's people like me, people like you that have a cochlear implant, and they're going to be answering, they're going to tell their story, and they're going to answer your questions. I've had a lot of people want more information about cochlear implants. So that's what we're going to do in February. In March, our sponsor, Caption Call, will be here, and they have, in addition to the phone, they also have a program for iPad. So if you have an iPad, you could literally turn that into a phone. It's wonderful captioning. I just think it works really great. Not iPhone, iPad. They give you a phone number, and you can go traveling with it and call anywhere in the United States. As long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, it's wonderful. So that's in March. Now, this is the Consumer's Guide to Hearing Aids. So I begged the publisher to send me some copies, and I just got them yesterday. And everyone, this is your reward for staying through the whole program. Please pick one up on your way out on the table. It's absolutely a phenomenal magazine. It even actually compares hearing aids. Not the kind of comparison you want, but it does explain all the bells and whistles and talks a lot about hearing loops, telecoils. So please, you're welcome to have one.
The one thing I would just add at the end of this is when you're going around and looking for hearing aids, ask the person you're going to why they're recommending that hearing aid for you. You really need to know what they are looking for in the background. There you go.
Okay, thank you for coming.